Good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream, and I'm going to do your May the 26th spiritual principle a day in a meditation. I hope that you're having a wonderful morning. If you need to reach me, feel free to do so at recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. Recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. The title of the meditation: Forgiveness, Acceptance, and Healing. Walking with the knowledge that someone has not forgiven us is hard. But through it, we find levels of forgiveness and acceptance that we may not have known were possible. That comes from the Living Clean book, chapter 5, Amends and Reconciliation. Over time in NA, we learned that we are worthy of forgiveness. That discovery comes in part as a result of making our step 9 amends. Part of our preparation for this process is to understand why we are doing it. To make meaningful and lasting change in our lives, we must make peace with the consequences of our actions and the harm we've caused. While being forgiven by those we've hurt is a blessing, finding self-acceptance cannot be conditional on another's actions. We must reconcile with ourselves to heal from our past. Forgiving ourselves is not contingent on receiving forgiveness from those we've harmed. Reconciliation may not always be possible, though we may believe we deserve to be heard and forgiven. Some will understandably stonewall our efforts. What then? It's pretty hard to gain the courage to undertake this process. But then we have to be humble enough to accept the reaction, even if it's a flat out rejection. That rejection may be excruciating for those of us whose self-esteem hinges entirely on being liked by others. We ask ourselves, am I even still worthy of forgiveness? How do I walk through this? No one is obligated to forgive us. We are powerless over other people's willingness or readiness. In a situation like this, we have one option for healing: move forward. That may take time because rejection is painful. As hard as it is to accept, we have to find a way to live with that pain without inflicting it on others. We must try to forgive ourselves for the consequences of our actions. Not being forgiven is its own beast and its own lesson in practicing spiritual principles. This experience might give us pause the next time we want to rebuff someone else's amends. We may be quicker to forgive because we know what it's like to experience that wall and how much effort it takes to live with that and let go. Today, I will strive to accept my past and move on from it. Though others may not, all I can do today and every day is to do better. Let's take a moment of silence, followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now, please. Thank you. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. Forgiveness, acceptance, and healing. We're talking today about amends and reconciliation. And sometimes we can go to make an amends and we understand the exact nature of our wrong and we can lay it clear out and find that the individual is not willing to interact with us, to forgive us, or they might say they forgive us, but they're not interested in a relationship with us because they find us unstable and dangerous to be around, unhealthy for them to be around, or they might feel that we somehow trigger them, or maybe because of our behavior in that relationship, we've caused them to have post-traumatic stress disorder. We bring some level of anxiety to their lives, and they don't see us as a healthy individual for them to even interact with. So, yeah, I love you and I forgive you, but I'm not interested in trying to build something with you. I'm not interested in hearing from you every day. I'm not interested in anything with you. I'm past all that. And my life is much better without having you in it on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, I don't go around talking about what you've done. And yeah, I've let it go, but I'm not opening the door for you to just waltz back into my life. Have you ever felt that or heard that? It happens all the time. No one is obligated to forgive us. And especially with some of the harm that we've caused, it'd be nice. It would relieve us to some extent of the guilt and the remorse and the shame that we might be feeling, but that's an inside job. That's not their job. That's an inside job. That's something for us to do for ourselves. Yeah, and depending on what faith or religion you believe in, some people think forgiveness is supposed to be a given. Well, I'm here to say that it's not. I'm here to say that it's not. And the sooner that I accept that it's not, we accept that it's not, the better off we'll be. Every direct amends we make may not be well received. And for some people, they're so taken aback by the fact that we would even open our mouths or knock on their door or write a letter or even call them, that in that moment, they're speechless. And they may not know what to do. They might say, oh, well, thank you. I mean, I appreciate your apologizing, but they don't understand that you're attempting to make an amends. They don't understand that. To them, excuse me, to them, it's just an apology. They don't understand that amends requires work, actually righting the wrong, repairing the damage. So for them, an apology is plenty because they have no intention of allowing you to make an amends in the full sense of the word with them. Now, you might receive their blessing and they tell you, go ahead, change the behavior and be a living amends, make a living amends. But don't expect to interact with me. And if they don't say it, they might show it to you the next time after you acknowledge what's been going on and you try to make direct amends to them. Try getting back in touch with them and see how it goes. I have figured out people have two faces and one heart. And the heart towards you is that they don't want anything to do with you. And when that happens, how do you walk through that? How do you forgive yourself and not let that further injury of rejection, because it's painful, take you out? And when I say take you out, I mean cause you to use, cause you to stop recovering. Don't let it. Again, this is an inside job. The forgiveness that you seek, it has to start from within you. Because if you don't ever forgive yourself for the harm that you caused, you will constantly waddle around in self-loathing, self-pity, self-hatred, unforgiving, automatic negative thoughts. You will constantly waddle around in that cesspool of unforgiveness of self and not be able to crawl out of it, move on, which is really the opposite of why we come into recovery. That's why we say it's an inside job. We need to recover no matter what. And we need to come away from thinking that self-acceptance is dependent or conditional, reliant upon another person's actions, whether it be forgiveness, whether it be inviting us to the party, right? We have to come away from that, because a lot of the reasons why we used to begin with was because we were not okay with how people or relationships were going, how people responded to us. Our inner thoughts were motivated by what we thought other people thought about us. And we wanted to quiet that dis-ease. And so we used in an attempt to change our perception of the reality. But as soon as the high went away, the reality was still staring us in the face, which at some point perpetuates another use to make it go away. And you can only do that so many times with mind and mood altering substances and behaviors before you become dependent upon them, because one is too many and 1,000 is never enough. And so today we're talking about forgiveness, acceptance, and healing being an inside job, so that when we move into step 9 and we find that someone is unwilling to forgive us, it doesn't throw us all the way off where we go back to using. This meditation makes a valid point, talking about being able to use that painful experience of not being forgiven to help us to be more forgiving of other individuals. There's nothing worse than feeling bad about the harm that you've caused and realizing that that harm was so devastating that the person will never allow you to interact with them again. That is very painful. And in some instances, if you have not truly done the work and found out the exact nature and changed the behavior, in some instances, they probably should not. I can think of several instances that someone that is maybe had a history of putting their hands on people and being mentally, emotionally, and verbally and physically abusive of someone, especially when they're high, could possibly change the behavior, never put their hand on another human being ever. But the person that they did that harm to would have such a trigger being in their presence, or maybe they have a protection order, and they will never allow that person to be in their presence like that again. I can understand that. I can absolutely understand that. But at the end of the day, that doesn't give us an excuse to go out and use, because we don't get to go back to the happy days of that relationship. No, we've created enough damage that is lasting. And that is a part of the wreckage of our past. But if we wallow in that, it just can't be good. Today, let's strive to accept our past and move on from it. Though others might not be able to, all that we personally can do today and every day is just to do better. And honestly, between you and I, that's all. That's all that is ever expected, is for us to do our best. Can you do that for me? As you meditate on this meditation and you think deeply about those situations and how you can grow from them. Can you do that for me? Just do better just for today. My name is Mighty Stream. I've enjoyed talking to you, and I will be talking to you tomorrow. But in the meantime, have a beautiful day on purpose. I intend to.